Welcome back, episode number 4, the Tipsy Tailgate. I'm Aiden Grobly.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Jake.
And we've got a good one for you guys today. We're going to be talking about a lot of quarterback stuff, NFL heavy this episode, but we got a lot of good stuff to bring to you. Let's kick it right off, ranking the top 5 QBs in this 2021 NFL draft. This is a draft that a lot of people are either very excited for QB-wise or they kind of think it's overrated. Me personally, I think it's going to be a good class. When any class that's going to have Trevor Lawrence in it is going to get a good rep at least. He's like the highest touted prospect from the quarterback position since Elway and Luck. So to start off, I'm going to go with mine, top 5 QBs. Trevor Lawrence, number 1. I think that's surefire. I think the reports by, Matt Miller, the NFL scout, saying that Wilson might be wrapping around the top 1 over Lawrence. I think that was a complete joke. I think it's not even close. Lawrence is number 1. He's the guy. He's going to do great things for the Jags. 2, I'm still going Justin Fields. A lot of people are going Zach Wilson. He played for BYU. Who was he playing against? I get it, he wasn't playing with as much talent, but BYU's also it's not a team that's terrible. Seeing him work with BYU, yeah, it's impressive, but he's also not playing against the talent that Justin Fields is playing against. Like I said, I'd go Zach Wilson 3. I still think Zach Wilson's going to impress a lot of people. I think he's going to make his way and possibly be a franchise QB in the NFL, but I wouldn't put him over Justin Fields. 4, I'm going Trey Lance. I think he's actually going to land with the Pats. Pats might need to trade up to do so, maybe around 9th pick, I've heard. But I think we're going to get Trey Lance. I think he's going to be a good player. Definitely raw, and he's going to need a lot of development, but that's with any quarterback nowadays. And then 5, I'll wrap it out. Mac Jones. I think he's the Tua version, of course, coming out Alabama. Tua did amazing things with phenomenal weapons, and Mac Jones did amazing things with all-time weapons. So it's just you see it every year. Alabama quarterbacks, they come in, A.J. McCarron, whoever else, and just don't succeed in the NFL. I think this is the same thing. I think Mac Jones has 2 DUIs. He's a little bit of like the stereotypical college kid. And I don't think he's really the NFL guy that's going to come in and turn a franchise around like any of these top 4 guys will. But there's a lot of hype with him right now, and he could definitely get a surge late and come around the top 10, top 15. I think it was actually reported on CBS today in their first mock draft that the first 4 picks of the NFL draft, including I think a couple 1 or 2 trade-ups, were going to be quarterbacks, a 4-way sweep. But we'll definitely see about that. What about you guys?
I had the exact same top 4 in the same order. I had Lawrence, Fields, Zach Wilson, and then Trey Lance. And believe it or not, I think that Trey Lance, out of Fields, Wilson, and Lance, obviously, I think that he might have the highest ceiling. He might be able to progress the most. I think that he reminds me a bit of Josh Allen, where he's kind of an unfinished product coming out. And I think he has a lot of potential, but for my number 5 spot, I actually went with Kyle Trask over Mac Jones.
I was thinking about that, yeah.
I think Kyle Trask is a beast. I really think it'll depend on where he gets drafted, the kind of situation. I think he's a guy that'll need support early. But to me, Mac Jones, I really don't think he's all that great. He reminds me of a worse Tua, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I had a pretty different list. Obviously, Lawrence is my number 1. Number 2 was Wilson. I was not a big Wilson guy up until I started watching his game film. And he's a guy that will take risks, but take strategic risks. He doesn't throw interceptions, which is a trait that translates directly to the NFL. A guy who's prone to throw turnovers in college will throw them in the NFL. It happens with every quarterback. At 3, I have Fields. 4, I have Trey Lance. I just think because he has that potential, he could go 4. And then 5, I also have Kyle Trask. I think Trask could even be the 4th quarterback pick if, like what Ben said, if he's on the right team. You look at his numbers compared to Joe Burrow's through, SEC games that they've played. He had better numbers. Florida's secondary was horrendous. Trask single-handedly had to keep them in games.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they kept him in that game. Was it against Alabama, that one game?
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal performance. I think you could definitely make the argument that he's top 4, or at least top 5. I had him just behind Mac Jones. So let's go into Carson Wentz. Gets shipped off from the Philadelphia Eagles to the Colts for a 2021 third-round pick and a 2022 second-round pick that's conditional, could turn into a first, depending on how everything goes. And it most likely will, yeah. First of all, I think we all loved this trade, didn't we?
Absolutely.
Big fans of this trade. We love the reunion, Frank Wright and Carson Wentz coming back together. Hopefully they can capture the same magic they had when Wentz was an MVP candidate. But let's talk Colts. Colts ceiling, Colts floor, and maybe a prediction. Let's throw it in there. What do you got?
I think that if this trade works out how I think it will, I think that the Colts have a great chance to be the third or second best team in the AFC next year. I think Wentz is in a great situation. When he was with Reich last time, he had an MVP caliber season, would have won the MVP, and could very well have won the Super Bowl like his backup quarterback did. I think the Colts are in a great position. They went 11-5 with a washed-up Phillip Rivers, and I think Carson Wentz is ready to step in there and win some games.
I think, they are in a great position, and I will agree that they're the second or third best team in the AFC if everything goes right. But I do believe that they're a wide receiver 1 away from being great, because it's not like Wentz stepped into a great wide receiver room being in Indy.
No,
anyway.
for sure.
And then, their cornerback situation last year was very shaky. So I think if they can address their secondary, as well as either having a guy from last year step up or signing somebody in free agency, it'll be a very scary team in that AFC.
Yeah,
South.
they had a great cornerback I'm blanking on his name right now, but Kenny Moore. Yeah, Kenny Moore. He had a great year. But they're also a team that's been battling injuries in their secondary for years now. Every year it seems like someone goes down, Malik Hooker, whoever else. But I agree. This is a team that, say, Carson Wentz pans out and Frank Wright and Wentz can kind of work together like
recapture
they did.
that magic.
Recapture it, yeah. And maybe they go out and they get. I know the Bucs want to keep the same squad, but Godwin,
they can't keep everyone.
Godwin might want some money. They get Godwin, or I heard that
even Gronk said that he might move.
Exactly.
Teams.
Yep. There's a lot of guys that are moving parts. Levante David said that he might even move. But in terms of the Colts, you go ahead. See, yeah, you have Michael Pittman. Yeah, you got a couple young guys that can ball out. But you need that number 1 guy, and I think they learned that with the Eagles. If Wentz doesn't have a number 1 guy you could trust, then he's going to be in trouble.
I think with that being said, though, the running game that they have with the O-line that they have will open up so much for Wentz, regardless of who his receivers are.
And me and my brother Jake, we're screaming it all year. Why aren't the Colts workhorsing John Taylor? He's
absolutely.
A beast. I loved him. He's my favorite running back in the draft.
He should be up there around 1,700 yards.
Yes, he's gonna have a massive year. He should have had one last year from the beginning. By the end, they were using that strategy more. But they have guys like Marlon Mack. He's supposed to be coming back from an injury.
Very underrated running back duo.
Naeem Hines. He might be a free agent now. Yeah. Naeem Hines, though, they use him a lot, and he actually had great production. But you workhorse John Taylor, you mix Naeem Hines in there, you could do a little bit of both. He can catch very well. That's a running back duo with that O-line that's going to be a force, and it's going to help Wentz a lot. But say you go and I heard the Lions they're going to tag Galladay, and they might tag and trade him. Maybe you trade for Galladay. Maybe you go ahead and you get Allen Robinson, Godwin, whoever else. Maybe you get a tight end. Maybe you get Hunter Henry. There's a bunch of options. Wentz was great with Ertz in Philly, and so maybe a tight end.
I would not mind them going out and getting Ertz at all.
Yeah,
I think that they could squeak out some great football from Zach Ertz.
For sure. But yeah, I think we all agree the Colts have a very good ceiling, very good potential. I think their floor really isn't low at all. I think
their floor is a 10-6 team.
Yeah, I can't see them losing more than
unless Wentz is really just that bad and cannot play anymore.
Yeah.
I can't see this team having a worse record than
10-6.
10-6.
I mean, it's not a bad defense. It's a defense with healthy and with they're young with Darius Leonard and Kenny Moore and the guys just getting older and older and building up that maturity and that veteranship. Then I think they have to be getting better on the defense. While with this run game, you're going to have a team that's going to put up good numbers, even if Wentz isn't able to capture the magic.
And that running game will be huge if they were ever match up with the Chiefs in a playoff game where you have to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field.
And that's a good team. Like you saw it last year, that Phillip Rivers, right up until the end, and it's Phillip Rivers. He's old. His arm's a little shot.
Do you think that if you just swapped Wentz and Phillip Rivers in that playoff game, do you think the Colts win that game?
No.
I think they might.
Not last year.
That's tough. I don't know about last year,
I think
but
they might. Because Phillip Rivers, the one problem they had is they could not score in the red zone.
Yeah.
And I think Carson Wentz would have found a way
and Wentz
to get a little more juice
he
and
could
get in
scramble
there.
a little bit and make a play with his feet.
Horrendous though last year.
He was.
It was probably all of it was due to just his lack of confidence in himself. But still,
I think Doug Peterson also got exposed as not a very good NFL. I think that was all Frank Reich. The success that they had in Philadelphia.
So high hopes of the Colts from us so far. Russell Wilson, news came out that he, quote unquote, did not want to be traded or did not request a trade. But if he did, he'd want to go to the Colts,
Bizarre
the Saints,
situation.
the Raiders, or the Bears. And then I heard that the original tweet that Schefter sent out saying he did not request a trade was deleted and then reposted without the line, he did not request a trade. So, don't really know what's going on, but it's sketchy. And I heard that Wilson, in the middle of the year, stormed out of a meeting after the team wouldn't listen to the OC and the squad, wouldn't listen to his input on the game plan and what they needed to do. And I think it's ridiculous. Russell Wilson, he's proven to be a guy who has maybe the most football IQ in the league. He's hungry. He wants to win. All he does is care about football. He grinds. He's a dog. And during the year, he's always constantly giving it all. His all.
He's a true professional, class act.
I don't know how you don't take his input and use it or anything along that manner.
I also can't see how you could deny that there's clearly something going on in Seattle.
Yeah. For sure.
If you look at the past between quarterbacks and their coaches, there's always little rumblings that there's some friction before one or the other goes out the door. Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, there were rumblings, some rumors about some friction. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, another example. I think that Russell Wilson is on his way out in Seattle.
I think it's very possible. I saw a tweet that was saying Russell Wilson's gonna skip his way out of Seattle, and thinking about it, I mean, he wants to win. If you're not gonna put a team around him and you're not gonna do what he says, then why would he want to stay there?
Not even just do what he says. Listen. Take his input. You don't have to do it every time, but
it's not
acknowledge
crazy.
that you're taking his input.
It's not crazy input. Obviously, the defense struggled a lot, but you got Jamal Adams, and he's a guy that's gonna work out eventually. Like he had a rough year, but he's going to work out eventually. I think a lot of it's over exaggerated about how he's not really a great safety in the league. I think he's
a good linebacker.
He's a good linebacker, but he's also
I think he's pretty overrated, to be honest.
but I think he also provides a lot of. He gets sacks. He gets a lot of fumbles.
Because he's never in position to be doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, but not many safeties are that stand out.
But not many safeties are blitzing as much as Jamal Adams is.
Which is true, but
Troy Polamalu would blitz a third of the time and get double sacks.
Right. Well,
he's not Troy Polamalu.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's levels to this.
I think what it is he's his own guy. He's kind of a freelancer. It's like the same thing with the Patriots with Jamie Collins. Belichick shipped him out because he's like, no, there's no freelancers on my defense.
Absolutely.
But when he did what he did, he was a great linebacker. So like I said, maybe they got to move him to linebacker. But I think now that they have him. Have an off season with him, they're gonna figure it out and kind of work how to fit him in. But what I keep on hearing is, why don't the Seahawks want to work on their run game? That's established. We know that. Russell Wilson wants to stop getting sacked.
Yeah.
Both can get fixed if they just fix the O-line.
Well, that's the thing about Seattle. People have had this question for, I feel like it's been 6 years plus.
Yeah.
Why don't you have an offensive line to protect your franchise player?
Yeah. And
it makes no sense.
Yeah, and they've made moves. They got Dwayne Brown from the Texans.
They've tried. I'll give them credit. They've tried. They've just failed.
They failed, and that's what it could come down to. their execution on trades, on moves, on free
And
agents have not.
I think
hit.
you have to keep in mind, Russ isn't 6'5".
No.
Russ
Yeah.
is 5'11", maybe
You
5'10".
need
He's
the
not a
O-line.
big guy.
And-
He could easily get hurt.
And he's 31 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is on the tail end of his career.
31,
at this
he's
point.
just started to have kids.
Right.
Yeah.
He's keeping everything in perspective now.
And I think it's very possible that he goes out. Quickly, out of the Cowboys, Saints, Raiders, and Bears, what do you think's the best spot for him?
I think Russell Wilson will be the next quarterback of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I agree
Really?
with that. I think that he will be
Really?
the first legitimate Hall of Fame
Yeah.
superstar quarterback, and I think I really hope he goes to Chicago. I'd love to see him and Khalil Mack on the same team.
And at this point, I would take Russell Wilson if I'm the Bears and you have a ready-to-go, built-to-win right-now defense. I mean, you still got to re-sign Al Robinson. But I would give up 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson over to Deshaun Watson at this point because I think Russell Wilson, when you're in that playoff game, with that defense, it's a surefire thing that he's going to win you that game.
I think I would still go with Deshaun Watson over Russell Wilson because we have seen him win in the playoffs. We've seen him make big plays. Remember that play in overtime against the Bills?
Yeah, but that was he threw a little
And you also,
jump screen to a running back.
knock on wood for Deshaun Watson, you would assume that he has more time left than Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree, but also has Watson had the playoff experience, the Super Bowl experience, the ability to adjust? Yes, he comes through with adversity and overcomes it, but he also gets hurt doing so.
That's
and
true.
Russell Wilson
That's right.
does the same thing and manages to stay healthy. But that's something we can get into a little bit later. I like that. That's definitely a good conversation. But if I was to say, I think Saints, you could rule that out. They are like $100
They're
million
in cap hell. They
cap-
can't do anything.
Saints are gonna be a dying franchise for at least the next couple years. The Raiders, I think, is very interesting. I don't think they're ready to make their surge yet, but say a year from now, the same situation happens. Russell Wilson stays on the Seahawks, and this comes up again. I think a year from now, he could go to the Raiders and be a really good piece for them. But I also think the Cowboys is interesting, and this gets interesting too. They don't want to sign Dak, so. What do you think? Where do you think Dak's going to go?
trade?
Where do you think Dak's
Is
going to
that
go?
a thing in the NFL? Is it something?
I don't know. Is it?
I don't think it is, but
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
if it was, I think the Cowboys are in a great spot to be able to give up Dak because Dak's going to want a similar contract to us.
Yeah.
You could tag and trade. You could tag and trade Dak.
I think you can. Yeah.
Which let's go into our next topic, Dak's future. We talked about this a lot. He's just disrespected over and over again by the Cowboys, by Jerry Jones, by the ownership, all that.
Yeah.
If I'm Dak, get me out of there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be there. Like, respect me. You got to respect me, and that's the biggest thing. A quarterback, Brady obviously didn't get great respect, but behind closed doors, he was the most respected man in that building.
Yep.
Besides Belichick, obviously. And I don't think Dak even gets that besides from his players and his fellow staff. I don't think he gets that from the ownership.
Which is weird because Jerry Jones, say what you want about the guy, he has always loved his superstars,
Yeah. Yep.
which is why it makes zero sense that he hasn't already taken care of Dak.
Which I agree. So, say this Russell Wilson theory doesn't happen, even though that would be really cool. Dak Prescott, do you think he could land on a team like the Patriots?
I honestly, I think that the Cowboys will find a way to figure it out and keep Dak. But if he hits the free agency market, I think he will become, a Washington football team player.
Yeah.
I think it's set up perfectly to play in division.
That would be
I think
cool.
Ron
I'd like
Rivera is
that.
a
I'd
great
get behind
coach,
that.
and I think he's building a great team.
I can get behind that.
Do you guys think Dak's overhyped?
I don't. I think
Yeah.
it's a weird situation because it goes from Dak being underrated to immediately overrated
Yeah.
back to underrated.
I think it depends.
So it's hard to judge. I think right now he's a little underrated.
It depends where you judge him. Well, if you're looking at him if you're judging him as a top 3 quarterback, yes, way overrated. If you're
Yeah.
judging him as a top 5 quarterback,
A Pro Bowl. Dak Prescott is a legitimate Pro Bowl level quarterback.
yes, and I think if you judge him as a Pro Bowl quarterback, I think he's rated perfectly. Maybe a little bit underrated. If you're judging him as an MVP candidate, I think we're talking a little bit overrated. But there's a lot of debate around what is Dak. Like, is he this? Is he a Pro Bowler? Is he an MVP?
I also think that the Cowboys are extremely dysfunctional, and I think Dak has been keeping a lot of that together.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with the Cowboys is I think the coaching just isn't working.
They just can't figure out the coaching spot.
When you have that much talent on a team and it just keeps crumbling, and I get it, Dak was hurt, I get it, but you're still crumbling year after year after year with that much talent. It's showing, it's telling, it's exactly what the team, and I think they should get rid of Zeke. I mean, like, to get into Cowboys.
Outside of his first year, Zeke really hasn't been a special player. No, out of the gate, he was a special player.
He's declined every single year.
Every
single year.
Absolutely.
And I agree. And I think even for fantasy purposes, I think Tony Pollard was a guy that you grab, and if you're in a dynasty league, you hold him because if at some point Zeke's going down. Exactly, and he's gonna take over. And he had a great couple games. I think near the end. And Zeke, like I said, Zeke could be near the the end of his career as a Cowboy at least. But in terms of the Dak and going to the Pats, where do we see the Pats going for their quarterback for next year?
What I'm hoping for and what I'm pulling for is that they find a way to secure Trey Lance at the draft. I think that McDaniels and Belichick could do wonders with him, developing him. I think that he's the kind of guy that needs to come into a strong organization. He needs that support around him. And hopefully Bill trades up for him because he needs to start to acknowledge that, the quarterback position is really important, and it might be just as important or if not more important than the head coaching position.
I completely agree. I think that the Pats, the Patriots are a team that prides their quarterback, but doesn't want to pay them too much.
Right.
So a situation with Dak.
That's why I think Dak wouldn't work out.
Yeah, I don't think that would work. So if I had to say, I think they're gonna draft a quarterback. Obviously, they always delay it. Everyone was like, last year they have to take a quarterback. 2 years ago they have to take a quarterback. They don't do it. They keep.
Well, now they
keep pulling
really
it off.
have to take a quarterback.
But do they? Because rumors are circulating that there's a potential Cam reunion, which I don't think will happen anymore. No. Then there's rumors about Marcus Mariota and how the Pats might take him for fifth rounder.
I could honestly see that happening. I could see that.
Which I could see. I mean, we keep pushing back.
There is a history of Bill repeatedly saying, "I think Marcus Mariota is a very good quarterback."
Yes, and for a fifth rounder, maybe the Pats take a shot at him. I could see that. If I had to rank them, I think you look at it. I think Marcus Mariota is the number one most, I guess, realistic option.
Well,
for the Pats.
what would be wrong with the Pats drafting Trey Lance and trading for Marcus Mariota and securing that quarterback room?
But that's the thing. With quarterbacks, there's a lot of hype around them, and it always fluctuates. But right up until the draft, every single year, I promise you this. By the day before the draft, there will be so much hype around every quarterback that there's this guy's definitely falling.
Yeah.
So Trey Lance, if they're gonna go and take a move for Trey Lance, they have to probably trade up to like the 9 position, something around there. They can't just sit back and hope he lands to them. If they do, they might land and grab Mac Jones, which I think is going to be a big mistake.
Yeah.
And I hope Belichick is well versed enough to know that Alabama quarterbacks is just not it. But like I'm saying, I think if they don't get Mariota, I think they draft a QB, either Lance or Jones, unless, of course, there's a crazy draft day move.
Mm-hmm.
I think either way, what do you think?
I think another guy that would work well in New England would be Andy Dalton. I think
as like a stopgap for the
Yeah.
I think
that's what they should have done last year.
Right, exactly.
Andy Dalton's a guy that I think he will get the job done better than Cam.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Andy Dalton would have at least got them to a 500 season.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
I think I don't know if I could get behind that completely.
If you look at the Pats' season last year, they were playing very good football. Half the team got COVID, and then things kind of fell apart, and then they figured it out towards the end.
Well, yeah, but I think it also goes back to this is a team that didn't have any weapons. So the fact that you have Cam Newton, who's a second running back, and he ran in he ran in more touchdowns than he threw. I think. Yeah. You're not getting that with Andy, but you're also, if you get Andy, you're also not getting the running, but you're not getting a great throwing either.
You'll have more passing touchdowns than interceptions.
You'll have more passing touchdowns, but then again, you don't have the weapons to really like bring Dalton up a level. Yeah. But let's get into our next topic. Tiger Woods. Obviously, the news around the car accident. Very sad. We're sending our prayers. I think reports came out that he had a compound fracture on one leg, and I think a normal.
He fractured both of his legs.
Was it a compound fracture on
Yeah.
both?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
very scary stuff.
something happened to his ankle too.
Yeah, and an ankle injury. I think if you're not familiar with a compound fracture, it's the Kevin Ware injury where the bone breaks through the skin.
Mhm.
Scary stuff. We're hearing that he's okay now. He's in good spirits. He's in the hospital, and he's out of surgery. But in terms of his, obviously it's way too early to say anything. But in terms of his golf career, at I think 45, I believe, it's call it quits. You gotta focus on life after golf. But like we said, we're sending our prayers.
Right now it's not even about golf. It's about Tiger's
It's
health.
about Tiger. It's about the man he is.
And I looked this up the other day just because I was curious, but I looked up his net worth. He's almost $1 billion.
Oh yeah, he's set.
He
doesn't need golf.
at this point, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just something to mention. I never understood why athletes don't have just a professional driver just with them at all times, just to smooth everything over. It seems like a lot of incidents happen when there aren't a driver for a celebrity or for an athlete. But like we said, we're sending
Sad
our
situation.
prayers. Sad
Thoughts and
situation.
prayers with Tiger and his family.
Hopefully he recovers. Yes, definitely. Thank you guys for watching episode 4 of the Tipsy Tailgate. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, like, share the video, and follow us on Instagram. We really appreciate your support, and we'll see you next episode.